Welcome to another episode of Not for the Weak-Minded. The biggest secrets of the world. Time and again we come across certain evidences about our past, or the ancient past, which we turn a blind eye to. We can't explain these without being labelled a crazy conspiracy theorist. Should that scare us from unveiling the truth? Plain truth that is staring hard at us from centuries. Or is it an agenda of the powerful to control this knowledge and hence control the world? Let's keep an open mind and try to review some of these out-of-place artifacts and mysterious accounts. Now, the reason why that label exists in the first place, out-of-place artifacts, is because they don't fit the narrative in the first place. So, when you're someone like me who's looked at the archaeological record for a very long time, you must incorporate those artifacts into a new perception together. And what that contributes towards is the biblical truth. So, 14-foot tall giant's femur bone found in Turkey. Right? Real artifacts that are just labelled out of place because they don't fit evolution. They don't fit the cosmological principles. They don't fit ancient history and the past of what we've been told. So you need to understand that you need to start incorporating the evidence. Stop ignoring it. So in the late 50s, during the road construction in southeast Turkey in the Euphrates Valley, many tombs containing the remains of giants were uncovered. At two sites, the leg bones were measured to be about 120 centimeters or 47.21 inches. Joe Taylor, director of the Mount Blanc Fossil Museum in Cross Boynton, Texas, was commissioned to sculpt this anatomically correct and to scale human femur. The giant stood some 14 to 16 feet tall and had 20 to 22 inches long feet. His or her fingertips were with arms to their sides would be about 6 feet above the ground. Wow. The biblical record, say, in Deuteronomy 3:11 states that the iron bed of Og, king of Bashan, was 9 cubits and by 4 cubits, or approximately 14 feet long by 6 feet wide. So the last video I did about giants, I said that in antiquity they were still grasshoppers in comparison to the things that have been discovered. So let's just go to here. Petrified trees and the evidence of mud fossils across the earth. I have showed you many examples of these animals turned to stone. Is this a giant axe? What about this? Right? Real? Not real? It's real. What does the biblical narrative say? What does the book of Enoch say about how tall they are in cubits? 90 feet tall? We're going to discuss this. Next article. So, we can always trust Snoops because they're a very reliable fact checker, aren't they? So, was a 5-meter tall human skeleton unearthed in Australia? Giant human skeletons are hard to come by, not really if you know what to look for. Digitally altered or miscaptioned images on the other hand, which of course you got two sides to reality. You got those that say everything's fake and none of this exists, there's no evidence for giants whatsoever, the biblical record is false, that everything we've been told is fact, right, from birth, and none of this matters. So they just say it's miscaptioned, right? So what should it say? In July 2015, the World Daily News Report Entertainment website published an article about a 5-meter tall, approximately 16.5 feet skeleton that was unearthed in Australia. It's just an art exhibition that looks like a archaeological site. That's what it is. Trust me, that's one of the excuses. The gigantic hominid specimen that measures an incredible 5.3 meters tall, or 17.4 inches, was discovered near the ancient ruins of the only megalithic civilization ever discovered in Australia, which makes the discovery twice as puzzling, admits Professor Hans Zimmer of the University of Adelaide. Hans Zimmer, composer, right? The discovery of the Uluru archaeological site last year already took us by surprise, but this new find is just jaw-dropping, he admits, visibly dumbfounded. Theoretically, a 5-meter tall hominid cannot exist. How does this occur? How is this possible? Although this discovery is fascinating, we are left with more questions than answers, he concludes. Although this claim originated with a well-known entertainment website, a disclaimer on this site explains that all its contents is entirely fictional and satire in nature. Right. The above displayed text and photographs continue to spread online by third parties. In 2017, for instance, the WNDR's content was repackaged into a video by YouTube page UFO Mania. The truth is out there. And if you know what to look for, right, you're going to find article after article. And as I said in the video description, research the Vieira brothers. In fact, we will get to their research in a minute. But you have to do your own research, right? Don't just take my word for it. I'm so tired of this game. I am. And people's ignorance. 4 unbelievable giant human weapons found. In those days, there were giants. Wow, would you look at that? What regular human would wield that? We wouldn't. It's fake though. Modern humans and Homo sapiens are the last of our species, despite the fact that there are over 7 billion of us. Go away. There have been several other hominids that walked this planet, but I'm not talking about our predecessors. What I'm talking about is the other human species that live side by side with us. And that was the question I posed, right? That did we all, at one point live together, these giant humans and us? Yeah. And what happened? Is there evidence of even bigger ones in the historical record? As I've already mentioned, for example, the Book of Enoch. One such species was Homo florensis. He stood over 1 meter tall. So you got the other side of the spectrum as well, which I've not even gone into, which, if you research anatomical modern humans, tiny anatomical modern humans discovered, you'll find out that, they exist too. Right? And fairies. Researched that. Hominid fairies in England recently. Published by academic. For real. Proof of giant humans found. Although there have been countless stories of giant human skeletons found, for some reason or another, there seems to be no real concrete facts. That's because they just ignore the facts, right? They just go, nah, it's out of place, doesn't exist. These are votive offerings, right? That was created by man, our size man, not giants. Many of the stories are dismissed as fraud, while many others simply seem to fade away before the general public has a chance to make an informed decision. Well, aside from just skeletons or human remains, there are many other interesting items that may point in the direction of giants in the land. The biblical truth. Giants once walked the earth in those days. But then you got to take into account the Titans too, because that's what it says in the Bible. If the Bible is trying to be proven right, which it is, in all honesty, the core principles about the earth, history, right? These are just votive offerings according to the mainstream archaeologists. They just carry on belligerently with their crap that they teach in schools, right? And completely ignore all the thousands of artifacts that are genuine, right? How is that, right, not censorship? It is. These three remarkable double axes are showcased at the Heraclean Archaeological Museum in Greece. The museum is best known for its Minoan art and collection of Minoan artifacts, such as artifacts include these formidable looking axes. In the photo above, you can see just how large they are when compared to an adult human, right? Average size person. To wield an axe this size, a person would need to be at least 13 feet tall. According to the scholars, these axes were used for decorative and just ceremonial purposes rather than battle. Alright, what about these swords then? Giant sword is called Norimitsu Odachi, if I said that right. Measures 377 centimeters in length and weighs more than 14 kilos. If that doesn't seem like much, let's bear in mind that the standard length for a sword like this would be just 60 centimeters. So, was the person that wielded this magnificent weapon 6 times the size of a modern human? Would make it 30 to 36 feet tall. This 15th century weapon is forged from a single piece of steel and is now displayed in the Kibichi Shrine. 15th century, 30 to 36 foot tall. You've never been told the truth, and the only time you could ever learn the truth is today. If you're going to carry on ignoring evidence, I can't help you. I can't help you see the truth. Just because it's awesome, here's a picture of Baby Doll versus Giant Samurai and Sucker Punch. Cool. Huge bronze age axes discovered in Denmark. A buried axe was discovered by a farmer and his brother-in-law while they were out planting pine trees. Archaeologists later uncovered 3 more in the area which turned out to be dated to the Bronze Age. See, all this Iron Age, Bronze Age, Stone Age, it's nonsense as well. The axes are about twice the size and weight of the usual axes found. This suggests that whoever used these axes may have been larger than average as well. And there's more, right? What else we got? If it loads. Okay, giant books. Just some 3-year-old, fuck's sake, just some 300-year-old giant books. No need for reading glasses on this one, but perhaps some knowledge of 18th century Spanish might be useful. This is one of the collection of 12 giant books made in 1755 by a priest in New Spain, currently being preserved in the library of the National Autonomous University of Mexico. Nearly a meter long, made with animal skin, wood and leather caps containing scripts for religious ceremonies in conventus during the colonial era. They were found by a graphic documents restorer, Tanya Estrada, who tracked down the books which were donated to various libraries in Mexico in 1915. Probably stolen by the Nazis. Now most of the volumes are safely accounted for in the Mexico City and being preserved by specialists, but get this, according to the 1950 entry of books donated, there's still one missing. Right, giant books, giant artifacts, date into a period of time when supposedly they didn't exist, and then there's no evidence for giants, right? There's none. Keep telling yourself that. The Great Deluge, right, happened. Evidence is all over the earth. It's called mud fossils. So, Teotobacos was a legendary giant and king of the Teutons. Large bones discovered in 1613 were claimed to be his skeleton. In 1869, W.A. Seaver wrote, in times more modern, 1613, don't forget time's a lie as well, because they've replaced the I with a J with a 1, and I did find an article about that, and I can't bloody find it again, but it's very important. It was showing when they changed it from a J to a 1 in time, because I'm trying to put history back together correctly, right, using sacred geometry and ancient literature, and I tell you what, it's not easy. Some masons digging near the... Because you got to start again with everything. You got to understand there was 1,000 years of peace and prosperity that across the earth, and they've never told you that. It has to do with Tartaria, free energy, right? Some masons digging near the ruins of castles in Dauphine, in a field which by tradition had long been called the Giant's Field, at a depth of 18 feet discovered a brick tomb 30 feet long, 12 feet wide and 8 feet high, on which a grey stone with the words something Rex cut therein. When the tomb was opened, they found a human skeleton entire 25.5 feet long in a 30-foot long tomb. Do you know, I did try and say that there's giant tombs all over the earth as well, right? And I found one in Ireland. Was it Ireland or Wales? No, it was Ireland. And they're renowned for giants too. In history, 5 feet deep from breast to back. His teeth were about the size of an ox's foot, and his shin bone measured 4 feet in length. The bones were displayed in Paris. I'm going to try and find this. By Pierre Mutzer, a surgeon who claimed to be one of the finders. Right? Historical, legendary character of history discovered in a tomb that is of giant nature. So the giant of Castelnau, expression of giant Castelnau, I don't know how to say that, refers to 3 bone fragments, a humerus tibia and femoral midshaft, discovered by George Vacher de Lampouge in 1890 in the sediment used to cover a Bronze Age burial tumulus, and dating possibly back to the Neolithic. Forget the dates. According to the Delapube, the fossil bones may belong to one of the largest humans known to ever existed. Its estimated bone size that the humans may have been around 3.5 meters or 11 foot 6 inches. It's hardly the biggest one, is it? When you got articles saying you got 5 meter ones here, you know, big. This one here, 20 inches, 20. Where is it? Estimated height, weight. Oh, screw it, doesn't matter. You got the point, I hope, if you're still listening. Because we're going to get into some academic papers as well in a minute. Just a brief overview of what they have to say, you know, because this is in the academic record as well. Because ever since we've started to learn reality, there's been 2 sides to it, and it's all about the Bible to prove it wrong or right. And unfortunately, what we learned today is wrong, clearly, because they don't incorporate thousands of out of place artifacts, including giant skeletons, or understand that, you know, the earth is not millions of billions of years old due to petrification. So one of the most famous giants, the Irish giant, as I said, Ireland was once filled with giants, but they blame it on giganticism, right? But he was around 2.3 meters tall. He was taller than that, according to this video. 8 feet tall, almost 8 feet, which is roughly about that anyway. I think it's like 7.65 feet. So there's another article. Famous giant that is known, and of course they'll blame it on a rare disease called giganticism, right? And I tried to say that that might not be reality. That could be an excuse for giants. So these were giants in the earth. A lot of you've probably seen this already, but these are the skeletal figures represented. Just a few giant remains unearthed and documented historical records, along with the historical accounts of Goliath, who had 3 brothers as big as he, Og, king of Bashan, whose bed was 13.5 long, and Maximus Forus of Caesar of Rome. So I've tried to say to my archaeological friends, right, that giants were around in time of Rome, and they just tell me to fuck off. Fuck off. No, no, no. But but the historical record tells us so, right? So they're very picky with their evidence, where I'm not. I've gone and looked at everything possible, and then I'm trying to piece it together for you. 7 feet 4 inches tall. Museum in Ecuador. You've seen this one before if you follow my content. More 7 to 8 feet tall skeletons. 7 feet tall skeleton. 9 feet tall skeleton. 200 of them. And this is where the Vieira brothers come in, right? Because they've gone in and the Smithsonian and the cover-up of evidence that goes against what we've been told. One of the most famous giant footprints was found outside Maputsi, South Africa. It was found 100 years ago by a hunter, and locals named it the footprint of God. The print is 1.2 meters long, and if the rest of the body was sized in proportion to the foot, the giant that made it would have stood 24 to 27 feet tall. Right, footprints is in granite, or it would have been mud, and then turned to stone. And there are no chisel marks around it, meaning that whatever made the print must have stepped in the rock, the mud, to turn to stone, where it was still molten. No. It is estimated that the print could be anywhere between, forget the ages. If the correct age is at the upper end of the scale, because I've already tried to show you in my other videos, right, that if everything's correct, then man's origins goes back to the time of dinosaurs based on lithic development arguments, right? Transitional period, the fact that, you know, there's footprints of man and dinosaur together as well, right? Or giant birds or other animals like the Megalonyx jeffersoni, the giant sloth, 1,000 to 2,000 pound sloth, right? So forget the age. There's just plenty of evidence for giants, right? Michael Tellinger. Look into Michael Tellinger. If you don't know Michael Tellinger, look into Michael Tellinger's work. Yeah, not just about the giants, but about the Anunnaki gold mines, about the free energy production, right? All the things I'm trying to say to you that needs to come out in order to save civilization. Free energy, cures to all diseases, places built, right? Understanding these sacred geometry that can resonate certain frequencies using the harmonics of the earth to create healing chambers. They still exist today. You can look this up yourselves. The giants of the Death Valley. Because resonance and frequency and vibration is everything. And there's more and more and more evidence, right? I'm not going into every single bit of it. I'm just showing you that if you do your research, you'll find out the truth. Giant human footprints found in China. See it? Unproven, according to Snoops. So, wait. One of the huge footprints discovered is 57 centimeters long and 20 centimeters wide. And again, if we do, it doesn't say the height in this article, but if we do the calculations, right, from foot size to person height, we can work it out again, and it's going to be huge. And again, mentions conspiracy website Michael Tellinger when he just speaks nothing but facts based on evidence. Just like I'm showing you now, it's evidence, right? If you don't think it's evidence, you've got something wrong with your brain. Clearly. It's just, as it said at the first article, you're ignoring it. Why? I know it's hard, to the truth, but you have to accept what just is, right? The giant of Extremadura. The lengthy skeleton of one of the tallest Spaniards of all time on display in Madrid. Wait. And he's around about 2 meters 35, 7 feet 8 inches. So the ones I was showing you yesterday in antiquity, how big were they? They were about 7 foot odd, right? Some of them 6'9", some of them, but comparatively to the modern human, they're giant, right? Because that's what I should have showed you. I should have shown comparisons, right? Here's another website. I will leave all the links in the description so you can go through this in your own time if you choose to do so. And this is about more skeletons discovered, right? The Kandahar giant, Afghanistan. This is an actual case of a soldier getting murdered by a giant, red-headed giant coming out of a cave in Afghanistan. So, this one. When a monsoon flood occurred in Arizona in 1911, a large ditch was created on Peter Mark's farm, which he had held and worked on since 1870. While examining the ditch, Marks discovered the bones of a very large giant human. A friend of his, respected Prescott attorney E.S. Clark, was called over and also witnessed the giant bones and cooperated to find. The story was then put in the Yavapai County newspaper, and the Smithsonian Institute sent a representative to investigate and retrieve the skeleton, which Marks refused to give up and thereby hid away. Because if it went to the Smithsonian, it would have got locked away, never to be seen again. And that's a fact. That's exactly what they've done. The leg bone was twice the size of a normal man, and the head could fit over a normal man's head with extra space. Other than the giant's well-proportioned giant human body, the teeth variated in that they seemed more rounded than those of the ordinary man. Some folk have suggested that because of the slight difference in teeth, it could be possible that the bones might have been those of a Sasquatch. Cryptozoology, Bigfoot, where does that fit into evolution? Questions lead to answers, right? Bigfoot, real. There have many names across the earth, from Russia, Almasty, to America, to the Yeti, in the Himalayas. And there's multiple species of them if you do your research, right? Cryptozoology. When Mr. Marks died, the location of the giant's bones went with him. That's a shame. Art depicting Hercules, and of course you have other what was his name? Hammurabi? No, not Hammurabi. He's got a lion. He's holding a lion, a full-grown lion in his arms. I can't remember what that person's called. If you do know, please let me know in the description, or hopefully I'll remember. So, American giant skulls, giant stone glyphs, giant stone monuments, right across the earth. It's obvious, right, that we've been lied to. Again, the axes, giant ships discovered across the earth during time of Rome. Next page. So giant skeletons, go away, seem too real to be a hoax. Why would people hoax these things in the first place? Right? Think about it. Why would people actually go to the lengths of doing Photoshop, right, and changing images when clearly these are actual photographs? Why? Is it because they want to discredit the real deal? Do you understand? That the reason why there's hoaxes in the first place is to discredit the reality of it in the first place. And these are all meant to be designed. And yet, it's truth and lies. I guarantee some of these are real, some of them are fake. You got to decide yourself whether it's real or not. If you just keep thinking it's all fake, these are fake, this one's fake, they're all fake. They're just all artists. It's just art, right? Mermaid, Merman, they're real. Cyclops. So you have to make up your mind, right? But in order to do that, you got to look at everything possible. You got to read between the lines. That's it. So giants are real, right? Giants in myth and history and religion. This is an academic paper, well, site, ResearchGate, and it goes into all the different sorts of biblical truths about, during the time of Muhammad, said Adam was 90 feet tall, 60 cubits, and we know what a cubit is, right? So therefore we know how tall they were. Giants of old, the Bible, Quran, and the Torah speak of giants in the distant past, mighty men of old and sons of God mating with daughters of man, and the giants born to them, Nephilim. I think that has to do with the Greys, the Nephilim. The Nephilim are the Greys. In my opinion, they mated with humanity. They are the Watchers, and they came down from the heavens and disobeyed the Directorate of the Galactic Federation. So conclusions. Primates and possibly humans could very well have started at 90 feet tall. The oldest books and stories, myths and folklore are fairly similar and could be quite accurate. Giants of this size have been considered ridiculous to even entertain the possibility. Unfortunately, this is academics' attitude, even in the face of the physical evidence, and therefore ignored. God, or Allah, Christ, Muhammad, and many more are likely real. It appears to me that the early authors were amazed as we would be, and likely were truthful with their accounts. Writing a book in those early days would be quite a task. If those things are true, we are in deep trouble if we don't change quickly. Muhammad was quite clear about Allah's statement that to Adam, the message was peace, and may God have mercy on you. Remember this, the mercy part depends on the peace part. Peace only happens with love, respect, trust, friendship, compassion, and security for all, and truth. When workers scrape by and do the actual work, but the top 1% gets millions in bonuses for cutbacks when worker quality of life issues are not met, this is wrong. There are economic incentives to the well-off for all their neighbours to be proud, secure contributors as well. The reason why they've lied is to keep us enslaved, to keep us spiritually dead inside, so that we don't become the light and the way. We don't activate our spirituality, right? Wealthy and affluent individuals are needed to do good works. Once again, part 1 should be followed by part 2. So what they're saying is, in this, is all the religious texts have basic truths in them, and what I'm saying to you is that everything we've come to learn today is to prove it wrong, and all the evidence, right? All the out of place artifacts are just labels for artifacts that don't go towards the mainstream narrative, which is censorship, because you got to accept all evidence in order to actually know the truth, right? Another one. Come on, load. Alright, okay. So giants, Patagonian giants, right? And that has to do with Mount Meru, right? The center of the earth. If you look at the ancient maps from the 1600s, 1500s, it's written on it. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. You can read this yourself in your own time if you choose, because there's a lot of information in here. So I'm just going to go from here. As we discussed, King Basham was little over 12 feet tall. About 400 years later, the general size had been reduced between 9 foot and 10 feet, Goliath and his brothers, which suggests a significant survivable population. Average size of the giants up through the post-Columbian era seems to be about 7.5 feet to 10 feet tall. This group includes the Patagonian giants and other North and South American giants. Then the Vikings, right? That race were slightly smaller still, and then it comes to us. The above information is taken from historical records. There are thousands of additional records of various giants found in all kinds of circumstances with various degrees of photographic support over the last 2,500 years. It is not the intention of this paper to add information to this widely available elsewhere on the internet. The purpose of this paper is to look at the historical records and determine if the credible testimony contained in that record will substantiate the existence of giants in our current epoch. That such giants lived in and near the city of Bashan and Mount Hermon and were hunted to near extinction by Moses and Joshua in historically recorded facts. The city of Bashan stands in mute testimony to their presence. The evidence for giants in our epoch indicates that our descendants from a race of giants that coexisted with modern humans, Cro-Magnon, Neanderthals, and other hominid species prior to the Great Cataclysm of 7,000 years ago. They, like other giant flora and fauna, declined in stature and finally going nearly extinct as a species sometimes in the past 1,500 years. With very few remote and isolated pockets, the Patagonian giants surviving into the post-Columbian period. As a final note, I would like to include the distinct possibility that one of the 6 cataclysms during the last 1,500 years of the post-Ice Age, including a drastic increase in the... Forget that bit, because it's based on the cosmological principles, which is bullshit. Well, the extinctions happened, but the biblical narrative tells us the truth. That the flood, right, happened. The earth got washed. Things got washed off the face of the earth because they opened the windows of the firmament and opened the springs, flooding the earth that no mountain could be seen. Right? That's what it says. That's what happened. That's what caused the flood. The space is water, right? Ancient origins. Exposing the secret history of giants and the underground Hyperborean gallery in Romania. This is a very important site, Ancient Origins. They do great stuff. And again, more. Discover a skeleton that measures 10 meters, or 32.8 feet. And there's more. Next. So, top 10 discoveries in North America. This is a map created by the Vieira brothers of all the articles of giants being discovered during the 1800s, well, up till today, and how the Smithsonian has covered most of it up. Wow, not just the Smithsonian, but other museums and institutions connected to, you know who, the government, the Zionist-controlled government that don't care about the truth. They just, because they got an agenda. That agenda, as I've already expressed, is to literally control humanity with technologies. You need to wake up. You think I'm crazy? You're the crazy ones because you're ignoring the facts. You're not going and doing the research, thinking that I'm a lunatic, conspiracy theorist, when in reality, I'm showing you the truth. 7 foot 6 inches, mounds, 8 foot skeleton, 8 foot 1.5 skeleton, 8 foot 4 inches mummy, 9 foot 2 inches skeleton. See, America's history is one of the biggest secrets of all time. 12 foot skeleton, because you got place names there, just like we went and called Nova Scotia New Scotland and New England and all the English names. The Egyptians did the same, right? There is an Israel in America, right? The Jordan River is the Mississippi. This is what I'm trying to stress, is that we don't know the truth. We've never been told the truth, and you have to work it out for yourselves. And we have collectively destroyed their deception. 18 foot skeleton, and these are, the newspaper articles that from the discoveries, from the Vieira brothers' research, Hugh Newman's research, and others. Michael Tellinger. So yeah, grasshoppers, right? We're grasshoppers to these things. Giant human skeletons discovered. Now this video here goes into, you know, discussing whether they're fake or not, and again shows you some of the hoaxes for sure, artworks, and yet all of them can't be, can they? Is that fake? That's not fake. That's not CGI. That's not photoshopped. That's not photoshopped. Biblical truth. So, largest human skeletons in the world. Not really. 6 foot one. 6 foot? Not really. 6 foot? Not really. 6 foot 8 inches? Not really. 7 foot? Not really. 7 foot? Not really. 8 foot? Not really. 8 foot? Not really. 9 foot? Not really. But they are considerably tall compared to us, the average human. But I've just showed you there's, according to the historical accounts, right, Adam was 90 foot tall. This conspiracy claims the Smithsonian destroys giant skeletons. And they did. Right? But of course, Snoops, did the Smithsonian destroy thousands of giant skeletons? Satire. Read between the lines, folks. Please share, like, and subscribe.